Although it's one of the best TV shows of all time, Friends isn't a perfect show, but it silently fixed a huge fan complaint, though it continues to be a problem. The 1990s saw the arrival of many TV shows that are now classics, but few had the impact and legacy that Friends did. Throughout 10 seasons, viewers followed the many ups and downs in the personal and professional lives of Phoebe, Lisa Kudrow, Chandler, Matthew Perry, Monica, Courtney Cox, Joey, Matt LeBlanc, Rachel, Jennifer Aniston, and Ross, David Schwimmer. Together, they went through breakups, firings, weddings, and more, and they were a very tight-knit group. Two of the most important settings in Friends, which became part of pop culture, were Monica's apartment and Joey's apartment. The group spent a lot of time in them, which inevitably led the audience to wonder how they could possibly afford such apartments in New York City, but as it turns out, Friends silently explained how multiple times. Friends often explained how the characters could afford their apartments. Friends, the group at Monica's apartment watching TV. The main characters in Friends didn't live in modest apartments. In fact, they were quite big and well located in the city. This wouldn't have been a point of discussion among fans of Friends had the show given its characters realistically well-paid jobs that could make it possible for them to afford such apartments. First were Monica and Rachel, though it's worth noting that, before Rachel arrived, Monica had been living alone as Phoebe had already moved out. Monica was a chef, but her job wasn't stable in the first seasons of Friends, and Rachel worked as a waitress before making her way through the fashion industry. Realistically, Monica and Rachel couldn't have afforded their apartment during the first seasons of Friends, but the show explained how this was possible. Friends revealed that Monica's grandmother was the original tenant, and she and Rachel had been illegally subletting. It was later revealed that the apartment was rent-controlled, which would have made it easier for them to afford it during the first seasons. Then there was Joey and Chandler's apartment across the hall, which was smaller than Monica's but still not very affordable for them. However, it's important to remember that Chandler's job paid him very well, as for years he worked in statistical analysis and data reconfiguration, before changing to advertising. Joey was constantly struggling in his acting career, so it was thanks to Chandler that they could afford their apartment. In Ross' case, not only is it implied that his job as a paleontologist and teacher paid well, but he was also smart about his savings, unlike Monica. Last but not least, Phoebe lived in her grandmother's apartment and stayed there after her grandmother's passing. Like Monica's, Phoebe's apartment was rent-controlled, so she could afford it even when she wasn't working as a massage therapist. Friends still gave its characters unrealistic lifestyles. Courtney Cox as Monica and Lisa Kudrow as Phoebe at Central Perk in Friends. Even though Friends explained throughout its entire run how its characters could afford their apartments, the show still gave them unrealistic lifestyles. Chandler and Ross' lifestyles made sense, as did Rachel and Monica's once they got better jobs, but Joey and Phoebe's didn't make much sense. Joey made it big as an actor once, which was when he moved into his own apartment, but for the rest of the show, he was struggling, and yet, he could always afford large quantities of junk food and more. Phoebe was a massage therapist, which could be unstable depending on where she worked, or if she worked on her own, and she worked a couple of odd jobs, too.